This week's show brought to you by Roosters, a fun casual joint. Frank Shoup, Georgetown's big name in cars.
Welcome everybody to the Scott County Cardinals News Graphic Football Coaches Show. I'm Cal. Of course, the coach is the star of the show, Jim McKee. We'll get to him shortly. We're here to talk about, it's week 5 of the football season, which if you do the math, it's the halfway point. It is really hard to believe that we have already arrived at the halfway point of the regular season. We hope it's not the halfway point for Scott County. We hope it's about the third of the way point between now and state championship week in December. Last week's game, kind of preparation for that long-term goal. Scott County in the middle of a 2-game stretch here, kind of a home and away stand against Cincinnati opponents, 2 of the best schools in the state of Ohio, football programs in the state of Ohio. First up was Archbishop Moeller, and they came to Toyota Stadium last Friday night, and probably the biggest crowd I've seen in a couple of years, and probably the most anticipated game. I mean, there was a lot of hype for the Elder game. There's a lot of hype anytime you're playing a team like Lafayette at home, but something about Moeller, their name is kind of synonymous with high school football in Ohio and in the Midwest part of the country, and for all they've accomplished over the years. And there was a little bit of that intimidation factor, I think, at the start of that game. If you look back on it, Scott County in the first quarter fumbled the ball away a couple of times, or a couple of penalties that maybe stunted some other drives. Moeller went up 14-0 right out of the gate, 24-7 late in the second quarter, and then it was just an uphill battle all night. And the final score of 38-28, I guess kind of indicative of how the game went, but not really. It felt like a much more even game than that when you look at the other statistics besides turnovers. Yardage was just about even, and it didn't seem like Moeller really stopped the Cardinals. It was mostly the Cardinals stopping themselves, and I do think that was Coach McKee's impression of the events. He'll talk about that when we show you his words from practice earlier this week. But it was just a tough night. Moeller, just a big, skilled team across the board. Size, if you were there, just to see them in pads was a little impressive and a little intimidating. I'm sure maybe from the start of the game that was an issue for Scott County. But as things went on, it just seemed like it felt like another game, and it felt like Scott County belonged there. And I think that's Coach McKee's whole purpose in scheduling these teams long term. That being said, now it's a different challenge as Scott County goes up Interstate 75 and hooks over to 74 to visit LaSalle of Cincinnati. They are the 3-time defending 2A champions. Ohio kind of goes in inverse order from Kentucky, so that's like the second biggest class up there. They've won it 3 years running. This year's team is 3-0. They have not allowed a touchdown. They've given up 1 field goal in 3 games. Now, they're not an offensive juggernaut in the way that Moeller is. They're not going to light up the scoreboard. A lot of their games have been 17-0, 14-3, that kind of thing. But if you look at last year's game when LaSalle played Moeller, it was a 55-19 win for the Lancers over the Crusaders. So if that's any indication, it's going to be a tough uphill battle for Scott County. But they won't be intimidated by the environment. They went up to Elder a couple of years ago, and I think a 10,000-seat stadium up there. There's nothing they're going to see Friday night at LaSalle that's going to top that. And having already been in the Moeller game, it's a case where there's really nothing to lose here. After this, it's all district games and games against potential state championship playoff opponents. There's a game at the end of the season with Pleasure Ridge Park in Louisville, but after that, it's the playoffs other than district opponents. So this is kind of like the last preparation, the last chance for Scott County to kind of control who it plays and kind of see somebody that's a little bigger and stronger, maybe not bigger in LaSalle's case, but faster, and that's going to play a big role in determining Scott County's long-term success. We have great comments here from Coach McKee. He was a little frustrated by I think the tone of the fans going into the Moeller game, and I think he thought that people were a little bit satisfied that maybe close was good enough. He didn't feel that way. Let's hear what he had to say about that concept and about the LaSalle game.
Moeller's big-time reputation may have caused Scott County to struggle early in Friday's game.
Well, I mean, here's the thing about football and about any kind of sporting event, any kind of competition. You know, you can never control your opponent. You can't control the talent level of your opponent. You can't control, you know, how prepared you're. But what you can control are the variables that impact yourself. And I told him before the game, I said the biggest fear that I have is that we'll let the black team beat the black team tonight, and we did. I mean, you know, it's not with every kid. I can remember once I had a kid in 2014, and he was a real good player, but he wasn't let's see, what would be the right way to put it? He wasn't a kid that had been exposed to a lot. He hadn't been outside of Georgetown very much. And so it's about mid-season, October 1, and he says, hey, we're walking into practice, whatever, one day, and he says, hey, coach. I said, what, buddy? He said, we're going to play the purple team again. And the purple team was male. And so he didn't even know who the purple team was. So, you know, we got some kids on our team like that. Moeller doesn't mean anything to them. But, you know, we drank the Kool-Aid a little bit. And I just felt like that when we had the chance to answer the bell on offense and defense in the first quarter, we really didn't. You know, the defense, when they ran the kickoff back, had a chance to go out there. We immediately stopped them on first and second down, let them get out of 3rd and 9, third play of the game. And then offensively, you know, we got to answer right there. We got to answer. And we went 3 and fumble. So that, I mean, you got to get ready mentally where you cannot beat yourself. The only way to do it, you got to keep doing it.
Coach McKee believes the Cards will grow and get better from last Friday's experience.
We got to focus on ourselves. And, you know, the thing is, a black eye will heal. And when you get popped in the nose a couple times, as long as you don't disfigure it and completely break it and it just gets a little bloody, it'll heal. So the key is, as you heal it and when it gets back, is the eye better than before it got blacked? You know, did you learn to duck when they take the swing at you? And that's really our responsibility as coaches, and ultimately it's all our responsibility as coaches. The kids played hard, and they'll play hard this week.
The road won't get any easier this week as Scott County travels to Cincinnati to face one of the top teams in the nation.
You know, for Kentucky fans, they're Bowling Green. They're 5A. Where we're in a 6-class system, there would be 5A. Ohio is in a reverse where Division I is the largest. They're Division II. So they beat Moeller 55-19 last year. So, you know, they're very, very good. But again, didn't you have fun last Friday? You know, didn't you kind of step back and think, man, this is really a neat deal for high school sports? And, you know, our guys just have to keep it in the right perspective. Our job is to get them completely ready to beat Bryan Station, Henry Clay, Dunbar, and Frederick Douglass.
Welcome back. That was Coach McKee, and as you can see, he's very excited about the opportunity to play LaSalle and give Scott County another chance to go into a great environment up there in the state of Ohio. We also spoke with a couple of players this week, a couple of seniors as always. Zane Wilson joins us and Cooper Robb, both from the defense. Zane has done a good job on that defensive front, and Cooper set the school record, single season record for interceptions last year. Let's see what Cooper and Zane had to say.
Defense and special teams will have to get off to a better start this week in order for Scott County to compete with LaSalle.
Yeah, I think our defense really just needed to get used to what they were doing the first couple of drives because, you know, kind of settled down after that. They had to really drive to get the score. But turnovers really killed us bad, especially the one on the goal line. I thought that was kind of the momentum swing right there.
We started out the game with they returned the kickoff to the 45 or something like that, and then we went out, they scored the first drive, then we fumbled. Then we came back out, I missed the tackle, they scored, and then we fumbled again. So, I mean, we got into it after that, and we kind of settled down, but that really hurt us to start off.
Scott County players say that Moeller's size and speed weren't as intimidating as the big game environment.
I mean, I wasn't real intimidated because I go against Hudson like the entire preseason, and they're just 17 and 18-year-olds too. So.
Yeah, that's probably one of the biggest games any of us have ever played in, especially at our home field. So, I mean, maybe the nerves, but, I mean, we all settled in and we all, you know, did what we did and we hung with them eventually.
The Cardinals have adopted a more business-like approach in practice as they prepare for LaSalle.
Yeah, I think they're huge, but just like the way we prepare for them is, I think, more important because if you don't prepare well against good teams, you're not going to beat good teams.
Yeah, Coach, he's been talking about being all in. That's our thing this week and the rest of the year. We need to be all in as a team to get where we want to be in the state championship, because we can actually do that. We got a really good chance to do that this year.